Hello, good morning, my creative friends from a very snowy Loveland, Colorado. It's a little chilly here in the basement, so I have my jammies on and a couple of other layers and my nice toasty slippers and a nice hot cup of coffee. And I'm super excited to be here live with you guys today and to talk about a project that I'm going to be working on now through the end of the year. But first, I'm going to take a sip of coffee while it's still hot because my tendency is to start talking and then to not focus at all on the to focus on my art and not to get anything, to remember to drink my coffee is what I want to say. I'm still waking up a little bit morning and getting my screen set. And of course, when I came down here to get on at 6:30 a.m., then everything, my internet went out. So you can find all my programs that I'm going to be talking about today at minette.teachable.com, minette.teachable.com. But what I want to talk about today is something I'm going to be doing here only live on this YouTube channel. And if this is the first time that you've been watching, welcome. I'm Dr. Minette Riordan. I'm a creative process coach. I'm really about helping people understand how to use creative process as a tool for personal growth and to create more meaning and purpose in our lives. And I do that in a lot of different ways, but one of my favorite ways to do that is to integrate art and writing into a process I call visual journaling. And I have this favorite list of questions that I ask myself every year at the end of the year. There's 22 of them, and they end with coming up with a word or a phrase that really is the energy that I want to go into the coming year with. And sometimes a word just isn't enough. And sometimes it feels like we're trying to pull that word just out of thin air. And so I thought, how can I approach my own process a little bit differently? Normally, I would take, a couple of hours to just sit down and figure out how to or figure out the answers to the questions. I would give myself, a little bit of time with this list to really reflect back on what's happened in the past year. And I wanted to do something that was a little more expansive. It's been a really, really crazy, topsy-turvy year for me and my husband and my family. And what I noticed was that there were times of the year that were amazing and wonderful and calm and peaceful and lots to celebrate. For example, in the beginning of this year, we sold our house in California and relocated to Loveland, Colorado to be close to nature, close to family, to have some financial freedom and really focus on creating the lifestyle it is that we want to be enjoying at this empty nest stage of our lives. So we bought a house in lovely Loveland, Colorado. It's totally a snow day here. It's my first winter here, so it's still kind of exciting to wake up to that winter wonderland, knowing that I get to work from home. I don't have to go anywhere. And I'm going to tell you what I'm up to in just a minute. So I have this favorite list of end of year questions. We moved to Loveland, which was awesome. And then things kind of fell apart a little bit in our family. I won't go into details, but it was a really hard summer. There's parts of it that are still really hard and are going to be ongoing for a while. And there's parts that have been wonderful, living a little bit closer to my mom and stepdad is wonderful. The hikes and just walks and the beauty and majesty of this gorgeous place that we're living and exploring this new area. It's been amazing. And yet I always forget every time that I move, there's a grieving process that's involved. Even though we moved here by choice, it was the absolute best decision that we could have made. There's still that drama of change and the new and the I don't know, and I don't have my friends and connections, although I do, one of the reasons we moved here was because I do have a lot of that already in the Denver area. My friend Sherry came up to paint with me before Thanksgiving last week, and she said, "You're closer, but still not quite close enough. We're about an hour and a half away from each other." So I'm grateful to have friends and family nearby. I have a lot to be grateful for. And I had a lot that I had to mourn and grieve this year as well. So as I reflect back, there was a lot that happened. There was a lot that didn't happen, especially in my business with all the craziness of moving. So topsy-turvy feels like a word that really captures the journey that I've been on. So as I was thinking about getting this YouTube live series started and having more of a focus for myself and how could I just show up in more service and support to more of you during this season, and the holidays can be really fraught with hope and excitement and awe and wonder, but they can also create a lot of stress, unease, discomfort. Families can be the most joyful, wonderful things, but they can also at times be uncomfortable, bring up memories, and make you think twice about how you want to be spending your time. In fact, I sent out an email this week on things to think about and ways to just to manage our energy and not feel so stressed out during the holidays. Even if everything's going great in your life and with your family, the holidays are a busy time and it can take a lot out of us. And especially for some of us, most of the work tends to fall to us in the family. And that's not a gender thing at all, but there's usually that one person who's kind of the family glue or loves to take charge and get things done, and everyone's so used to you taking charge and getting things done that they tend to just leave it all to you. And that can be exhausting, can't it? So having really clear boundaries around your time and energy is so important. And in fact, for me, when I'm thinking about the holiday season and being just at a different place in my life, I have young adult children in their 20s. I don't have the crazy Christmas morning rush that we did when they were little, which was wonderful, and I loved it. And things just look different now, right? They look different now. But what I've noticed then and now, even in the rush and insanity, is that I need more time for rest. So winter is a time that we normally slow down. Life slows down. Weather keeps us inside more. It's a great time for some deep reflection on what has come and where we're going. And I found that without looking and reflecting back, without taking the time to really ponder where we've been, it's hard to make any decisions about where we're going. And I'm not a fan of those sort of, classic New Year's goals of, I'm going to finally get fit this year, finally lose that X pounds, I'm finally going to write that book. Because I feel like we aren't setting ourselves up for success when we make these sort of grandiose goals without any thought or intention around them about, well, how do we want to make that happen? And really, where are we going from here? And I believe we have to look back and notice the threads and the through lines, really honor what worked, release what didn't work. So what I'm going to do over the next few days is I'm going to create what I'm going to call an end of year reflections journal. And throughout the month of December, right here on this YouTube live channel, I'm going to be sharing a question a day. When I go live, I'll be going live Monday to Thursday at 6:30 a.m. for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, maybe longer, depending on the project that day or my personal schedule for the day. But what's clear to me is that I want to really take my time with my end of year reflections so that I feel as clear, as certain, and as joyful as possible going into 2023. And this was an awkward year for so many people, for my entrepreneur friends, especially it seems that way. It was the year that we thought the pandemic was over, that things were going to go back to normal, and what's clear is that there is no going back. There's only going forward. And the world looks different. On the global stage, there's been a lot happening this year, not the least of which was the war in Ukraine. So there's been a lot happening around us, maybe a lot happening within you and your nuclear family, community. And we can't just sweep all that under the rug. We can't sweep it all under the rug. I think it's so important that we pause to just acknowledge the emotions, the feelings, the experiences, and how they've impacted us personally. So I'll be sharing these questions once I get my journal made. And I'll be working in this journal throughout the month of December. I invite you to play along, whether you make your own journal. Maybe there's a journal that you've been saving and afraid to work in because it's too pretty. I want to encourage you to pull that journal out and let's get messy together. Let's get real together throughout the month of December. So I've had this idea for a handmade journal, what I'm calling my end of year reflection journal, for a while now, and decided this would be a perfect format to play with. So I had a bunch of these old, I think these are 8x8, maybe 10x10. Yeah, it's an 8x8, just flat canvas boards that had other paintings on them that I didn't love, that, I didn't really know what to do with. And so I decided to pull out some of my son Connor's mandala designs for some inspiration. And I'm going to use these two canvas boards that are 8x8, these flat canvas boards, to create a journal. They're going to have a mandala on each side, or what we prefer to call a sacred circle design. You can see I'm just finishing this one up. I've been working on it for a while, and this one has some base color on it, but no patterns or designs. But this is going to eventually become the covers for a journal that I'm going to show you how to put the journal all together live tomorrow. I need to do a sample and work out all my details first, which I'm excited about doing. I have a couple of other sets of these canvas boards that I've been playing with, and these are two different brands, and I'm noticing that they're just slightly not the same size, which is, I kind of like the wonkiness of that. I like things that aren't precious and that aren't perfect, because I'm not precious or perfect. And so this is a hand-drawn sacred circle design. I love drawing these designs. This is such a mindful creative practice for me. I love creating my own, and I love coloring the ones that my son Connor creates for our membership program, Mindful Patterns, which is a monthly membership program. You can find it on my Teachable, minette.teachable.com, where we really encourage the integration of mindfulness, creativity, and spirituality to bring more calm, relaxation, and more focus into our lives. And so you can choose a digital version of the plan or a physical version of the plan where we will, here comes Georgia, nope, Diego, to say good morning, where we will actually mail you on this beautiful cardstock printed copies of the mandalas. And I was really drawn to this one, so I'm going to play with this particular design, and I love the message of calmness washes over me with every breath I take. But there's, I think these are the December mandalas that we've been mailing out to people. I love each one is so different from the other. And I love coloring these most often as I'm sitting in front of the TV in the evenings or as part of my morning practice. I will sit for a few minutes and color a mandala and work with the affirmation of the day. So I'm going to come back to this one, and I'm going to be inspired by Connor's design here. I have pre-painted some circles. And what I love about Mindful Patterns is that we gather once a month live together to be just in kind of the energy of co-creation. There's something about creating in community that makes the experience even more meaningful. I see you, buddy. This is Diego Rivera, my snuggle puss. He loves to hang out with me while I'm making art. And these are going to be a little messy, wonky mandalas. I'm not going at all for perfection here. Just sort of following those circles that I've already drawn. And I love these to be as colorful and whimsical as I can make them. This is acrylic paint on canvas. And like I said, this canvas, it has a lot of texture. It had collage. It's been used before. And then I'm using a variety. I've got Posca markers. I've got some Identa pens. I've explored a lot of different things for working with drawing over the top of acrylic. And the Poscas are definitely my favorite. I'm kind of loving this pattern and wondering what would it look like if I let that just extend across the circles. So I didn't have anything in mind when I started this. For the acrylic underneath, I do tend to start with a combination of some darker and brighter colors that are likely to show the pen marks on them. I love to add my own marks to these. I am a certified Zentangle teacher for some of Connor's designs. I specifically request that he creates a more open design that allows for space to add Zentangle patterns inside. And then sometimes just 15 minutes of coloring. So here's the same design, or very similar. No, it's the same design. I just colored over all the lines. So I simplified it and colored it with the limited amount of time that I had. So there was one that I colored. And I'm just sort of randomly picking the colors. There's not a lot of, sometimes I'll get to, pick a color and it's like, okay, well, that's not showing very well, so let me try something else. I love the delicateness and daintiness of some of Connor's Sacred Circle designs. So for me, I kept looking for that way that I could sort of wrap my creative and spiritual practices together, to integrate them into one seamless process, because creativity for me is so much about connecting to myself, to my inner self. Creativity helps me to access my intuition and to quiet down long enough to really get in touch with how I'm feeling in the moment. That's better. And so mandalas are that thing for me. And I had a great conversation with my son, and we've decided to call them Sacred Circle Designs, because the word mandala, which is a Hindu or a Sanskrit word that means circle, has its roots in spiritual traditions of Hinduism and Buddhism. And ours aren't intended to be about a particular religion, but to be that sacred place to bring your own thoughts and beliefs to the page. And so you can hear my voice slowing down. It's hard to focus in on these drawings and talk at the same time. And there's something about working with the sacred circle that my whole body calms. I'm focused and alert. My mind is in a place where it's relaxing enough that I can hear that inner voice. So my mornings often start with lighting a candle, perhaps drawing an oracle card, just a few minutes of meditation and just quiet connection. Maybe some journaling. But some mornings I find I can't go to words first, and I really need to go to color and image first. And so that might look like doing a little painting in my journal, or working on one of these sacred circle designs. And sometimes the color is the thing that allows me to move some of the stuck or foggy energy that I may be feeling. So learning about your own creative process. Are you someone that always goes to words, and you might benefit from going to color or image first? Are you someone who always goes to color and image first, and that's what supports you? There's no right or wrong way to do any of this. There's only your way. My husband and I were just in just in Santa Fe for the Thanksgiving holiday, staying with a family friend. And I love the colors and the sounds and the smells of Santa Fe. This turquoise reminded me of it, but also they have a beautiful Catholic church in the center of town with a labyrinth in the courtyard. For the first time in a long time, I found myself going into the sanctuary, lighting a candle, saying a prayer, especially for my family, for some of the disconnection that we're experiencing right now. And it felt so good and honoring to reconnect to my Catholic roots. So whatever your faith or spiritual beliefs are, every tradition around the world works with sacred circle designs. Whether it's cathedral windows, labyrinths, Native American medicine wheel, the Tibetan Buddhist sand paintings, what's magic about working with these sacred circle designs is that circles and the history of the mandala especially represents all of the parts, all of the things that are going on within, as well as the sacred whole. And one of the things I know that I'm often working towards or striving for in my own life is alignment and wholeness. When all the things within me are moving in the same direction, when there's a lot of safety and security. When I feel most in integrity with myself. Integrity also means wholeness. So often as I'm working with these sacred circle designs and I'm thinking about the affirmations that Connor and I have created for mindful patterns, I feel that inner shift, that inner connection with my own relationship with the divine. And that's when I'm really in that magical space of integration between the creative and the spiritual. And I can spend hours and days on these designs, adding patterns and marks. If you go to our Teachable, we actually have a free course called Sacred Circle Designs. You can get some of our mandala sacred circle designs for free and learn more about our process of how we use these just simple, elegant coloring pages and affirmations to create a really mindful start to our days. I think so often when we hear people talk about their morning routines, we think that it can be complicated and needs to take hours and hours, and I'm not a morning person. Like we have a lot of stories about what a morning routine should be, could be, and yet you probably already have one. You probably get up and make your coffee or tea or get some exercise or make breakfast for yourself or your family, feed the pets if you have them. You know, there's already things that you do every morning that are routines and habits. And it's easier than you think to just tack on "15 minutes of mindful creative play." And it's amazing how spending just 15 minutes a day, even if it's not in the morning, maybe it's at your lunchtime or mid-morning or in the evening, but spending just a few minutes in that space, oh, I love that copper, that shiny copper, of mindful creative play can have such a positive impact on your entire body, mind, spirit. And so giving yourself permission, because nobody else is going to do this for you, so giving yourself permission to take that 15 minutes to just play with color and words, to play with color and words. And as I mentioned at the top of the video, you can find our free Sacred Circles course on minette.teachable.com, as well as our Mindful Patterns membership, where we will delightedly ship you these gorgeous designs every month. And show you exactly our practice and process for just taking a few minutes every morning to be in creative play. Hi, Georgia. And this is Diego's sister, Georgia O'Keefe. Everybody has to do their morning drive-by for some snuggles. I'm not thinking about the colors that I'm using. I'm not worried that these match or don't match. I'm just having fun with this process. I'm kind of loosely using some of the same shapes here as Connor did. And again, I'm not trying to recreate it, but be just inspired by. She wants to be like right in the middle of everything. Diego's better about just sitting still in my lap, but she will chase my hands trying to get me to pet her. She's a character. Yes, I know. All right, off you go, Missy. That copper shiny, it's hard to draw on. You probably can't quite see what I'm doing here. I'm having some technical challenges with my hover cam, and our streaming software doesn't want to let me zoom in. So something for my awesome techie hubby Brad to see if we can get that working a little bit, because I'd love to be able to zoom in on these designs a little bit for you. But I like where this is going, and it's coming along pretty quickly. So it's taken me about half an hour so far to, and I had prepped these, right? If you were starting from the beginning and needing to do the painting backgrounds, take your time to do that. But today for me was really about, I wanted to introduce you to what I'm up to, encourage you to create a journal with me. I'm going to show you how I'm going to create the insides tomorrow. Or to find a journal that you love and to follow along with me. So starting on Thursday, December 4th, I will be working in an end of year journal. This one that I'm creating here. So I'm not going to add too many pages to the inside. But I wanted to be able to have something that I could hold on to for a little while and go a little deeper into my reflections about what happened in 2022 and what am I most excited and hopeful for in 2023. I'm tossing around a few different words, but I'm not committing to anything until I actually go through my own creative journaling practice. So I make sure that I really capture the intention, and often one word isn't enough. Maybe it needs to be a short phrase that really captures what it is that you want to create. So the one word thing is a fun idea and trend, but it needs to work for you. So I'm going to encourage you to join me in December to create and work in your own end of year reflection journal. To create and work in your own end of year reflection journal. Trying to figure out what kind of pattern I want to do here. Kind of thinking I'm just going to do some nice straight pattern. So to get the mandalas and the circles onto the boards and have them be as round as I like them to be, I actually took some just plain old chalkboard chalk, colored the back of the design, and then made my own tracing paper. Basically, you could also use chalk paper, would work really well. And I got the circles onto the canvas first, because the one thing that I did want was for my circles to be mostly round. They're definitely still a little wonky. They're not perfect by any means, but they're more round than not. And I also wanted to have it more or less placed in the center of the canvas. So again, I simply used one of Connor's designs. It wasn't this one. And used plain old chalkboard chalk, colored over the back of the design, and then took a ballpoint pen and use that ballpoint pen to just trace the circles so I could get the circles going. There's all kinds of fancy compasses and tools that you can use for drawing circles. But just printing some circles in different sizes and shapes out on your computer and then tracing them is a great way to get the different sizes of circles. Dinner plates and saucers are another favorite go-to of mine. Lids of jars also work great. Like there's so many things around the house we can use to help us draw the different sizes and shapes of our circles. Wow, that looks really funky in the screen. You can't see that green on the purple hardly at all in this funky light, but I've got a lot of fun colors. I'll be sharing the covers on my Instagram at Dr. Minette Riordan. I'm pretty much, you can find me just about everywhere at Dr. Minette Riordan, here on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, wherever you like to hang out. So I will be sharing this. This needs some more of the dark to stand out a little bit more. And I'll be here live painting in my PJs every single morning, Monday to Thursday at about 6:30 a.m. I was here ready to go at 6:30 a.m. this morning, but the internet decided not to cooperate, so it took a minute to reboot our modem. Tomorrow I'm going to be showing how I'm going to use these canvas boards to create a journal. And then starting on Thursday, December 5th, I'll be sharing a question a day. I think there's 22 of them, so I'll be sharing them just right up about to the holidays. And the intention is to nurture and support myself with some deep reflection, but also to just share this process with you, have you play along, so you can nurture and support yourself too. I have a tool I call the Creative Compass. And the Creative Compass, also a circle, is all about connecting to what it is that we need most. And I believe that there are 4 areas of our life that we don't give enough attention to, that are the areas that most support us creatively and spiritually. And those 4 areas are deep rest, deep play, deep reflection, and deep connection. So being here with you for this month and doing this process is going to help me be in the energy of all of those, right? To be in the energy of connection with you. As we work on these reflection questions, I'm going to be in some deep reflection. Anytime I'm making art, I'm in a state of deep play. And then I can rest here on the page as well, taking time out for a slow, mindful start to my day, and not just leaping headlong into work. Allows me to start my day from a place of calm and centeredness and not feeling like I'm behind before I start, not waking up with that heart racing feeling of, holy shit, how am I going to get all this done today? But instead saying, oh, I get to start here now, where I am. And that's so important to me. And I can play with these forever, as you can see. And I'm using nothing but straight lines, curved lines, and dots. Straight lines, curved lines, and dots to create these patterns. All right, Georgia, come on. She's back. And you might be wondering or thinking, I don't have time to create an end of year reflections journal. My argument would be that you don't have time not to. Oh, she just sent my pen flying across the floor. Got another one in here. And while you're going to watch me spending a lot of time on this over the next month, maybe you simply spend 15 minutes a day writing in a favorite journal, thinking about the creative prompts, and adding a little bit of color to a page. Like, there's no right or wrong way to do this. There's only your way. Wanting these little circles here to pop out a little bit more. And for those of you that love art journaling, visual journaling, deep reflection and introspection, you'll love this process. So I'll be sharing the prompts every day, how to make the journal, fun ways to add pockets and tags, and all the things that make the process creative for me personally. I'll definitely be using some collage images. I find intuitive collage to be one of the most powerful ways to get my understand what's going on unconsciously, to discover what are those things that are underneath the surface that are needing and asking for my attention, and I can't quite put my finger on what's going on. I'll be doing some intuitive collage along the journey. And if all you have is the capacity to spend 5 minutes coloring a sacred circle design, then go to minette.teachable.com and grab those free designs. Sometimes it might take me days to color one. You don't have to ever finish one in one sitting. Okay, at some point I have to stop. As you can see, I can just keep going, adding the color and the patterns, filling the whole canvas. Now the hard part's going to be deciding which of these two I want to be the front cover and which I want to be the back cover. I'm kind of liking both of them. And I'm out of room, so this is going to be the last layer. I'm really loving this pink on this dark purple background. So I started with really dark colors on my background and then added my lights over the top, but you could 100% start with a very light, bright background. And build up your colors from there. And loving the colors and that little bit of shiny copper in there. I definitely have a thing for metallics, but there's something about the brightness of this one that really speaks to me as well. So thank you for joining me today. I'm Dr. Minette Riordan. This is Painting in Your PJs with Minette. I'm here Monday to Thursday at 6:30 a.m. So grab your cup of coffee, join me in your PJs for some coloring, some conversation. At any time you can ask me questions in the chat and I will be happy to take questions at any time. I'm here again for that deep connection and appreciate you watching, whether you're watching live or watching the replay. And I'm super excited about these little journal covers and my end of year reflection journal. I will be back here tomorrow at about 6:30 a.m., given that the internet totally works for me, and I will happily see you then, hoping that you have a creative and wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for joining.